manager of the Staten Island Yankees, and last year you managed the Gulf Coast Yankees, and very successfully, may I add. You had a 35-24 record, and probably the first question that we would have for you is, do you feel any additional challenges managing the Staten Island Yankees this year?
You know, that's a good question. I think the answer is yes. I went into last year as my first year managing with the goal of teaching the guys to be pro baseball players, number one, and then number two, teaching them to be Yankees. And really, you know, they're one and the same, but at the same time, they're not. There's a lot more to being a Yankee, but and that's going to be the same approach. The new challenge, I think, will be having so many first-year players. Last year in the Gulf Coast League, we have a lot of international players, specifically from Latin America. And as you may or may not know, they sign at 16 years old, 17 years old, and so by the time I get them, they've already had a couple years in the organization. I think this year the challenge will be these first-year guys, you know, out of mostly probably college classrooms right now that I don't know, and trying to blend the cultural differences with some of the Latin American guys, backgrounds, ideas, you know, into one productive team and one productive clubhouse. So I think that's going to be a little bit different from last year, but I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
Well said. We're going to go over to our next graphic, Mario, because we have a picture of Richmond County Bank Ballpark,
yeah.
Staten Island Yankees. And we just, first off, we want to mention that sincerely how we feel that the Staten Island Yankees are a great opportunity for people to have a family night out. It's very affordable. And really, when you think about it, to meet players so up close and personal, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And it's got a beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline with the new World Trade Center. So, you know, we really couldn't think of a better setting. And once again, we want to congratulate you on the new position.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great place to see a game.
It really is, Anthony. You're 100% right. Yeah. And Mario, you touched on it, and you really sounded sincere when you said to teach them to be Yankees. Does it mean something to you? It's a feather in your cap to be a manager of a professional team, but does it mean something extra to you to be in the New York Yankee organization?
There is no question. This is my fourth year here, and each year I learn more and more about the tradition. I did not grow up a Yankee fan. I played with a different organization, but from day one, I mean, there's definitely something different here that we have as a Yankee, and that's something that I've heard so many people that have gone to different organizations, and maybe they started their career with the Yankees or they spent a couple times with the Yankees, and every one of them mentions that it's different here, and just about every one of them still associates themselves with the New York Yankees, and that's something it's really, really special.
Well, you're going to love it, Mario, because you really are a stone's throw from Manhattan, and some of the guys that you have on your pitching staff could probably reach Manhattan with a baseball. But you're going to love it because Staten Island is a blend of New York City grittiness, but it's also has a real kind of suburban feel to it also. So it's really a nice blend, and we think you're going to love it. And one question that we would have for you, are you familiar with Staten Island or the Northeast, familiar with the lay of the land, so to speak?
Not at all. I played in the New York Penn League, you know, in 2004, and that would have been in Albany. So I got to see some of the state of New York, but not really the New York City area. So I'm extremely excited. I've asked a lot of questions, and I've heard nothing but good things about the area, about the city, the ballpark specifically. I mean, the organization, the Staten Island Yankees. I mean, I'm couldn't be more excited.
You know, the likes of Robinson Cano, Chin-Ming Wang, Brett Gardner, they came through there. So that's terrific. And, you know, you mentioned that you played ball, and you were drafted by the Astros in '03, and then you led the New York Penn League in home runs and RBIs in '04. But your career was derailed, unfortunately, due to injuries. We don't even have to ask you if that was frustrating. It's an obvious question. Did you draw any positives out of your career that was shortened?
There's no doubt. I was blessed to have a couple good years, so I've been on that side of it. And naturally, with the injuries and being released and having to look for different jobs, really being unemployed at that point. I think both sides of the coin really have shaped who I am. At that point, through the injuries and being released, that was the biggest adversity I'd faced. And but I made the conscious decision to push on, and I think that's the way it has to be. With these guys that are struggling, I think I can relate to them. There's no question. Try to be the positive voice in their corner. Try to be behind them in everything. There's a quote that I really, really like. It's never to suffer would have never to have been blessed. I think as Edgar Allan Poe, and that really sums it up, because if you don't know what it's like to suffer, then you really don't know how well you have it. And,
well said.
when things are going well. So, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Well said, Mario. And baseball especially, you have to manage your failures. I mean, an excellent hitter is a 300 hitter, and yet he fails 7 out of 10 times. Mario, we're going to go over to our next graphic, and it's a G4. It's a scorecard from your team, Tri-City Valley Cats, and just to prove what a career that you had. I mean, how many ball players can say that we have the lineup and we have the scorecard? And it's interestingly enough, I ended up finding it because in this game that you played against the Staten Island Yankees, and Tommy John was coaching them in 2004, and you batted cleanup in a lineup that included Ben Zobrist and Hunter Pence.
Pretty good.
That's
Right.
pretty good.
Right. Yeah, we had a very good team. We lost in the championship that year to Mahoning Valley, I believe it was. But there were several players on that team that went on to play in the big leagues.
Wow. That's terrific. And Mario, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our next graphic. We have a picture of you in a Tampa uniform, Tampa Yankees, and you were a coach. And what we want to say is, as my brother mentioned so accurately, when we look at your picture, not only are you a very handsome ball player where we knew that you had the stats and you had the look, but as my brother said, you're a young guy. But you've already been in the organization for 3 years. You coached under Louis Sojo, and that's a player that I loved as a diehard Yankee fan. When we were going through those glory years of '96 through 2000, when we won the World Series 4 out of 5 times, I mean, this guy was a utility infielder, but you know what? You can't teach clutch, and that's what this guy was. He was your manager. Did you learn anything from Louis Sojo, and how was he as a person?
Oh, man, Louis the best. I learned, I could go on all night about the things I learned from him, and what a great storyteller, too. We'd come in after BP, and I'd just sit in his office, and he would tell stories from those teams that you mentioned, and stories of people he played with, and how he thinks about things. And gosh, I hope he didn't get sick of me asking him questions, but no, Louis and I have a great relationship. Really, I wouldn't be in the position I am if it weren't for him. Just, the things that he taught me, and ultimately the organization, at some point goes to their managers and asks them about the coaches that are working under them. And so without Louis' blessing, I definitely would not be in this position.
Yeah, well said. Mario, the one moment that stands out to me was the Subway Series in 2000. He had the winning hit that actually won the World Series, a hit up the middle, and 2 runs scored, and the Yankees went on to win Game 5 of that World Series and win the World Series itself. And the thing that I loved about Louis Sojo was the glove. He was a defensive whiz. Put him at second, put him at third. He could play short, corner outfield. He was terrific. But additional, he hit to all fields. He was a contact hitter, very low strikeouts, and he was a great bunter. And Mario, this is going to lead to a question of mine, because I really could not think of anybody that I'd rather talk to in the Yankee organization in terms of coaching than you, because you're starting at the ground level. I made a comment on the last episode, and it got a lot of attention, and I called it Shift Happens. And what I mean by that is that the shift is here to stay. This is a defensive strategy that's not going away. This is not something that Joe Madden only does. And what bothers me is when I see guys hitting into the teeth of a shift. And gee, once in a while, Mario, if these guys had the training to be able to lay down a bunt down that third base line, it would be so valuable. And I think of a guy like Louis Sojo, who was a great bunter. Are you going to put any extra effort into something like that, or is that something not necessarily, that you're there to teach them that?
Sure. It's, ultimately it's all about development. And if that's a part of a player's, bag of tools, and that's something that needs to be developed, there's no question. And I can't agree with you more that shift is there to stay. I mean, that's something that we work on here. You'll see it this summer in Staten Island, with the data we have and with, which is really overwhelming. Can be overwhelming, but yet so valuable. You will see it this summer. What really we're playing a zone, and if there's zones where the ball's not going to go, or we don't think the ball is going to go, then we don't even worry about it. So that's something that I'm a big believer in. And as far as from an offensive perspective, yes, no question. If they're going to give us base runners and they want to, leave a third baseman back or leave a part of the field open, no question.
And you know what, Mario? Even to further that point, it's my belief, I don't know, maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but a slugger like yourself, that you hit 15 home runs in 66 games. I did the math, and your two best seasons, you were averaging over 162 games. It would have been 37 home runs and 150 RBIs. I mean, that's the level that you were at. But let's look at a Jason Giambi, or how about a more recent vintage, Mark Teixeira. My point is, even a slugger like that, if they have that shift on, and you're down by 3 runs and you need a base runner, I mean, what's the point to swing from the heels? If they're going to put that shift on, take what the defense give you. If you had the ability to just either choke up or just put that ball down third, because you need a base runner. So it shouldn't even be limited to the Brett Gardners of the world. Even the sluggers, when you need to get on.
That's a great point, and I couldn't agree with you more. Depending on the situation, if you're a home run guy and it's a tie game, or we're down 1, yeah, maybe we want to try to tie it up or try to go ahead. But if, like you said, that perfect scenario, if you're down 2, down 3, and we need base runners, there's no doubt. I mean, I would strongly encourage a guy like that to do whatever he could to get on base.
We know that you're down in Tampa right now with the Yankees, coaching, managing. So we know you're limited for time, but we do want to ask you, and we find it very interesting, that you've coached a lot of these young prospects over the last 3 years. Tampa Yankees, Gulf Coast, now you're going to be with the Staten Island Yankees. So you are intimately involved, and you have a hands-on kind of knowledge of a lot of these ball players. And it's interesting, when you look at the stat line and you look at this spring training, who's at the top of the list? Cervelli's hitting 500, Solarte, Almonte, Garcia, Perella, Sanchez. Many of these guys you coach and coach. Now, Solarte, who we like very much, my brother and I, we're not going to give the Yankees that much credit because we know he came from the Texas organization, but just about everybody else that we mentioned came through the Yankee organization. So if you had to pick a couple that you'd say, hey, you know what, give us maybe a little bit of a background on a few of them that we could kind of draw off of.
Sure, absolutely. I love doing this. This is what I do, and it's a pleasure to talk about these guys. You mentioned,
Let's say Zoilo Almonte. I mean, he's got a great name, and John Sterling would have a great time.
He's going to make the club.
Zoilo, we struck Zoil with, whatever.
Zoilo's done a great job. What a story. I mean, he's came out of the Dominican Republic, been through just about every level in our organization. He's shown the ability, to switch hit, and very effectively, shown power from both sides. He's worked really hard on his defense. He's becoming, a solid defender, very strong arm. I've really enjoyed watching him grow. And when he was rehabbing last year for a short time down in Tampa, and I actually asked him to speak to our Gulf Coast League team, and he was tremendous. I mean, just what a great guy, willing to give back. I mean, just, I really think good things are in store for him.
And it's funny, you mentioned that he's a switch hitter. When we look at Solarte, he's a switch hitter. And what we like about a lot of these prospects, and I guess you get a lot of this credit, obviously, when we see these prospects, they are not dead pull. I mean, these guys are hitting line to line. Somebody asked me on Twitter, they said, Mike, what do you think of Mason Williams? And I said, you know what? He's hitting 174 this spring training, but I love the kid. I saw him play for the Staten Island Yankees, and Mario, correct me if I'm wrong, here's what I love about him. First of all, he is outstanding defensively. I mean, just terrific defensively. And what I like about him is, and again, this year he's not hitting much, but I always see him hit where the ball is pitched. He's a left-handed hitter. When it's an outside pitch, he never rolls it over. He goes with it. He hits to all fields. I love it. What do you think of Mason Williams?
A tremendous athlete, tremendous baseball player. I really, truly believe that he's destined for stardom. I think he's going to be a star at some point, hopefully in the near future. But Mason, like you mentioned, probably the best defensive outfielder that I've ever seen, played with, coached. I mean, he's it. The plays that he comes up with are incredible. From an offensive standpoint, he flies. I mean, yesterday we had him down, and we did a little inter-squad game with AA and AAA, and I'm currently managing AAA, so I was on the opposing side of Mason, but he was 4-1 down the line, which is, well above average. I mean, he's a great runner. As he develops into a base stealer, I think that's really going to add value. And, you hit it on the head. He hits the ball to all fields. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't know this, but he has more power than a lot of people think. And I think as he develops as a hitter and matures, we're going to start seeing some power numbers from him as well.
Wow. Okay, if you could, because there's so many, and you know what, time is limited and all that, but if you just had to give like a quick, a couple of word, response on a couple of these. One guy I have a little bit of a soft spot for is Slade Heathcott. I mean, I think he had a little bit of a rough upbringing with his family and, off the field issues and all of that, but he's got a lightning quick bat, if I'm not mistaken. And what do you think of Slade, just quickly?
5-tool player.
Wow.
He's got everything. Plays the game hard. Just really exciting.
Wow. And Tyler Austin?
Gamer. He's just really good. He's there to answer the bell every day. Plays his tail off. Just what a gamer. That's the guy you want in your clubhouse. The guy you want on the field.
Wow. And we know, for a myriad of reasons, that there'll be an opportunity at third base sooner or later. The Yankees last year drafted Eric Jagielo. This is a kid out of college. This is what you alluded to. This is what makes your job so difficult, Mario. You have some Latin American ball players that can't speak English. You have some kids coming out of high school. Here's a kid that came from Notre Dame.
So the thing that comes to mind with Eric is he's just a pure hitter.
Wow.
And he's a professional. I mean, from day one that I met him, I actually was managing him when he got his first professional hit down here. And it was actually against Sergio Santos, who was rehabbing, so major league pitcher. So that tells you right there, the guy can hit. And I expect big things out of him. Might be the best pure hitter we have in camp right now in the organization. Wow. He's a pro.
And he's a lefty with a nice power stroke for Yankee Stadium. That's not so bad, right?
That's right.
Okay. And you know what else is interesting? And again, I find it interesting that the plethora of talent behind the plate, and interestingly enough, Mario, and maybe this is why you're rising through the ranks, you coach the catcher position. And we all know about the catchers that we talked about, Savelli, we know about Romine, and we even, at this point, we know about Murphy. And Sanchez, we hear a lot about. There's even another one, Torrens. Could you just, tell us about him and your involvement with the catchers?
Absolutely. Catching, I'm very passionate about working with the catchers. That was my most natural position. And it has been such a blessing to work with such talented players. I mean, John Ryan Murphy, my apologies. He's so close. He's right there, and if we needed him, he would be ready. I think I don't know what's going to happen with him as far as, come the beginning of April, but wherever he is, he's ready to be a big league catcher, and that's so exciting because he was one of the first guys I had in Tampa, and he was actually the first guy that I coached that got to the big leagues last year, and I thought he did a great job. He's a guy that I expect to play in the big leagues for a long time, and I think it's a testament to his skill, who he is as a person, who he is as a leader, and he's great, outstanding.
Terrific. And the fact that you're a coach for the catching position, that's a feather in your cap. We'll turn just quickly to pitching just for a couple of minutes. We're running out of time, but we actually had on our show Pat Venditti. He actually throws with both arms, and based not at the same time, but there's YouTube videos that went viral on that. But you know what? When we look at this crop this year, one of the pitchers that's kind of, again, near and dear to my heart, I look at a pitcher by the name of Dellin Betances. Why? Because I'm from Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn. He's 6'8", and man, this guy throws
he's gonna
hard.
make the team.
And you want to know something? A couple of years ago, I was talking to someone that coached Poly Prep in Brooklyn, and he said they should make him into a reliever, and that's it because he's got too many moving parts. But I think you got to like what you see out of him right now.
There's no doubt. He's another exciting one. He's working. He's worked really hard on his command, developing secondary pitches. He's unhittable. If he throws the ball where he wants to, I mean, it's good luck to the hitters. And I think he's getting closer and closer to that point.
Wow. You know what? There's so many names. You know what? I'll throw out some. You just pick one.
Please.
Let's say that you'd like to talk about. Cabral, Campos, Barawa. We saw him. I mean, he was he was throwing hard. David Phelps came through the Staten Island Yankee organization. Claiborne was real good last year, and another one that I'm really rooting for, Manny Banuelos, lefty with a changeup that dare I say cut out of the same mold as a Johan Santana. I mean, he's trying to bounce back from Tommy John, but
he's got a chance. He's got a really good chance to impact the Yankees, whether it's this year, next year. We don't know at this point, but he's good. He's got 3+ pitches. We've seen him up to, 94, 95 at times, and just what a smooth arm stroke. I mean, just in another, and I can't say enough about him as a person either. Another great person.
Wow. Yeah. We're going to go over to our next graphic, and again, we're going to bring it full circle, and we're going to go over to that beautiful ballpark in St. George. While we go over to that picture, Mary, if you're speaking to people that are watching our Staten Islanders, you're speaking to Staten Islanders and a lot of Yankee fans, what would be your message to them about this upcoming year?
I feel so blessed to be a part of the organization. I've heard so many good things about the Staten Island Yankees. We have pictures here at our minor league complex, and I just cannot wait to get there. The ballpark I've heard and what I see is gorgeous. What a wonderful opportunity to bring a family out to enjoy a ball game. I will do my best personally, and along with our players, to make it just a wonderful experience to have such an intimate time with professional ball players. And I just can't tell you enough how excited I am, and I really look forward to getting there.
Well, Mario,
just want to ask him, Mario, when is opening day?
Opening day, June 13th.
Terrific.
Against the Cyclones,
Can't wait.
The Brooklyn Cyclones. We got to beat those guys. And you got the draft just before that, so you don't really have a lot of time, June 5th and 7th. Mario, we want to wish you the best. Again, we had that beautiful picture up there of Richmond County Ballpark. It's right in St. George, next to the Staten Island Ferry. So you don't even have to be just a Staten Islander to go to the game.
Come across.
I mean, it's so convenient. You have a beautiful view of Manhattan. And we want you, Mario, to do us a favor and to thank Jane Rogers for putting us in contact with you. She's the president and the GM of the Staten Island Yankees. She does a great job. And we want to invite all of our viewers to go over once again to siyanks.com. And we can't think of a better way of spending a summer evening than to go see future Yankee ball players up close and personal. And Mario, we wish you the very, very best. Have a great season. We're going to come out and we're going to watch you and we're going to root you on.
Mike, Anthony, thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
Good luck, Mario.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Mario Garza, thank you so much for doing the show. Go Yankees. Mario Garza.